Joanne, God bless you. I feel like, different ones of us have different gifts, and I think Joanne is one of those prophets among us. And I do, Joanne. She's we've got a few prophets. There's another one, Brett. He kind of tells it like it is, We've got, how many other people kind of tell it like it is? How many people are told like it is? You're one of the, and I think we got different kinds. Look at this. There we go. There's exactly what we're doing. Mark, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. And God's blessings on you. Some of us, I think, have, all I'm going to say, have different gifts. One gift that actually in the scriptures, it talks about this. One of the gifts is the gift of building the temple. It was one of the gifts. They said, well, we got to find somebody full of the Holy Spirit and is skilled craftsman as well in order to build the temple. That was back in the Old Testament. And I don't know if you've noticed that we've got this new. How many noticed that their paint job was new as you came on in? How many of you realize that we have one of the painters who actually did the work here this morning, first Sunday? Mike, would you stand? Mike DeLoach. And do we owe him a debt of gratitude? How many here are sloppy type painters? And you paint, but you don't paint well. I kept on offering, can you use my help? And the answer was kind of, I got the feeling, get out of the way. You're sort of in the, and by the way, if perchance, you're not able to see screen or see things, you're welcome to get up and move around, right, Joanne? You can move to a different table. You can move back to the back. So we are going to, this is my promise. We're moving in the direction of curing this other screen thing. Is that right? Vern, we're on the process. We're on the move. And it's happening, but there's going to be a couple of TV screens replacing this eventually, and so it's and Timothy, we're also on the move. You're one of the newest of our slide guys, is that right? Now, Timothy, go ahead and stand up. Would you all like to applaud Timothy? This is, we're. Vern, could you stand some more guys in this being trained into this?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Hey, there's another. Joanne, we got to get you back up here. And we need some slide people up here as well. Timothy, thank you so much for your what's happening here. Gosh, while we're going, I just don't know who else to thank. This is kind of special. I always... the Sunday after Christmas is always this kind of, what do you do the Sunday after Christmas? I always feel like this is a special time where the Holy Spirit shows up. And the same thing is the kind of Sunday after Easter. It's kind of like this, you have this kind of super high and then it's different. But, it's a time, I pray, that God's Spirit does invade. And I pray, Joanne, that at all points in time, no matter what is going on, we're going to say, God is speaking. God is speaking. He is teaching us something new, and He's speaking to us. But one of the problems, I think, I think this is one of the issues. Not so much do we tend to be not do necessarily what we're supposed to do, but I think one of the key words in at least my vocabulary is the word oblivious. I think I've got that word. In fact, I think we're going to be coming to this because I think what we want to do when we gather is always listen to what Jesus is saying to us. This is why we come to church, is to listen. But we tend to be oblivious. How many of you would say that in certain ways, shapes, or form, you tend to be oblivious? You are a person who is unmindful, unconscious, unaware. And I think that there's this, and this is from the dictionary. She was oblivious to his admiration. How many of you have experienced that, guys? How many of you tend to be a bit oblivious? around the house. Guys, this is another good guy question. This is what my wife feels that I might have a little bit of this running in me, that every now and then I might not see things. She likes the one with the clothes being put there by the door, so that I'll take them to the washing machine, the dirty clothes, but the mound of clothes just seems like it's supposed to be there. I just don't even notice it. I don't even see it. I step over. You say you stepped right over it. But I didn't notice it. I oblivious. How many of you guys at least kind of identify with this? Some of you guys do. Good. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is good. And yet when we're oblivious to God speaking to us, that's what is really difficult for us, because He is always speaking. He is trying to get our attention. He is present. He is here now. What is He saying? How is He speaking to us? And what we're experiencing, I think, happened over and over again the Sunday and Sundays after Easter. Actually, our story this morning is going to be a story about Jesus resurrected Sunday night, and the people who connect with Him are oblivious, which happened again and again. When Jesus rose from the dead, Mary Magdalene thought He was a gardener. When the disciples gathered in Galilee before Jesus was ascended to heaven, some worshiped Him, but some didn't recognize Him and were doubting what was going on. Well, this similar kind of story. We have a couple of people walking from Jerusalem to Emmaus, and on the way, Jesus shows up, but they have no idea it's Jesus. The story goes this way. Now, that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and they were talking with each other about everything that had happened. And as they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus Himself came up and walked along with them, and they were kept from recognizing them. And I think, again, they were kept because they were just plain oblivious. They were so consumed with their understanding of who Jesus was that they couldn't see Jesus. They were consumed with this idea of what they were expecting, that they couldn't connect with Him when He showed up. It's a remarkable kind of situation, but I think it's the way things are for so many of us. I think this is one of the problems we do experience in church. Coming back, Joanne, I think one of the things that goes on is that we come in with a certain kind of expectations, and we're just with this expectation, but we're not seeing things from another person's point of view. We're just, again, oblivious. And what Jesus is saying to us, we may not be hearing at all. It's kind of like have some of you remember that commercial where the referee is getting chewed out by the people in the stands and the other coaches and everybody, and he's getting chewed out, and he's just kind of standing there and nothing. He seems like he's just, anybody can say anything to him. You know that commercial, and you're asking, and here's this guy, the ref, he's just getting chewed out, and the announcer is saying, I can't understand how that ref can take all that abuse. Listen, look at what's going on, and he's just standing there, and then the next cut is to this guy at home, and his wife is doing the same thing. He's just, you'd have to be there, you'd have to see this commercial, but it's just able to shut things down, and some of us have just been able to shut down the voice of God as well. Somehow it's not getting through to us. We're not hearing the message. We're not getting it. There's a disconnect between what Jesus is saying and how we're responding, what we're doing. And I think this is what's going on. It's what's going on here. They asked the question, or Jesus asked the question, what are you discussing as you walk along? This is, I think this is the next slide. What are you discussing together as you walk along? Well, you know what? I think they were thinking about what we tend to think about mostly. I think we tend to think about the things that aren't going right for us. How many of you can have all kinds of things that you're blessed with, but the only thing that you can think about is the thing that's not going right? How about it? I don't know. I picked up some plantar fasciitis here on Friday, and so all I can think about is that pain in my foot. It's just like, I don't care the fact that I can see, I can hear. Jimmy Luckett, he says his mother used to pray this every morning. She used to pray, Lord, I give you thanks that I woke up in my right mind. And I'm thinking, gosh, I rarely pray that prayer. I'm thankful that I have my right mind, but my wife kind of challenges me on that anyways. But she said, but what a gift that I can think clearly. What a gift that I can see, I can taste, I can touch. What a gift that I've been given in so many areas of life, but all I can think about is the one thing that's just not right. It becomes consuming. How many of you are consumed by something right now? It's the one issue that's become dominant, overwhelming. It's not all of life, but it's the thing that's consuming you. Well, Jesus is not there for them the way they were expecting, and that's what they were thinking about. It says they stood still, their faces downcast, and one of them, named Cleopas, asked him, "Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened there in these days?" And he asked, "What things?" I guess they must have just been amazed that Jesus could be this clueless. Ann and I were walking. No, I don't think it was you. Saturday, we had we're out at Fort Monroe, and there was we're having kind of a day retreat, which is a wonderful time. By the way, once a month we go out to Fort Monroe and we sponsor time where you can just be alone and spend some time with the Lord, and it's a beautiful time, beautiful setting. It's just a privilege to do this. I wish that everyone would just be able to make some time on Saturday mornings to do this when we gather once a month. But we're out there, and I heard somebody stop a policeman, and he's talking. He said, "Gosh, when did this become a park? I didn't realize. I've lived here all my life. I didn't realize that this has become a park." I was thinking, where have you been? Where have you been? I mean, Fort Monroe. I mean, where have you been? Fort Monroe has been. And he says, I didn't even realize it. I don't know how long it's been this way. Has it been 2 years? It's. Where have you been? What kind of person are you? I wanted to meet with this guy. I wanted to take a good look at him. How dumb are you? I wanted to say. I mean, it made me feel awfully good. I knew about something that he didn't know about. Every now and then, people kind of do that same thing for me. Don't you know? I'm kind of. I really like spending time with people like Brandon because I know he knows more about stuff of this world. I didn't even know what was going on with other teens when I was a teen, let alone now that I'm. Do you realize this week I have turned 64? That's pretty amazing, isn't it? I still don't know what teens are up to, but it's somehow it's. For sure, as far as Brandon is concerned, it's something good. But I also will say this: God is challenging us. He is always challenging us. I think to go down a little bit deeper. What we think we know and where we think we understand, it's always only a certain perspective. It's limited. And Jesus wanted to take them down just another step. He wanted to go down deeper. And so he says to them, well, the issue is Jesus of Nazareth. And they said to him, this is who we're looking for. And Jesus is listening to him. Oh, you're interested in finding out more about Jesus of Nazareth, are you? And they said, yeah, we want to know more about this Jesus of Nazareth. He was a prophet. He was a person who was able to get into people's lives and kind of redirect their thinking. And he was powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. Boy, what a beautiful statement that is. And if we're following Jesus, wouldn't it be beautiful if we could say the same, that people could say that we're people who are really open to the Spirit of God working in our lives, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. And the chief priests and the rulers then handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was one who was going to redeem Israel. We were looking for a military solution to the problem. How many of you feel like sometimes the best solution is the strongest? You use all the guns that you have at your disposal, and you move in as strongly as you can. And they said, this is kind of our thinking, that somehow we're going to have somebody who's able to apply pressure and make things happen and transform things because of the will that's there, the power and the force that's there. This is what we thought. Jesus was going to be a great general, a great king. But what has happened is that he's crucified. And what is more, it's the third day since this all took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us, and they went to the tomb early this morning but didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. And then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see Jesus. And so there's this speculation. There's rumors out there, but we haven't seen anything firsthand. We have not experienced anything life-changing ourselves. And some of us have experienced that very kind of thing in our life. We have experienced this sense in which others seem to be in on something, but we personally, if we're honest, gosh, we haven't experienced it at all. In fact, some of us have gotten good at kind of riding the coattails of what other people are saying and doing. You know, other people are saying something, so we're saying, well, yeah, I guess I'm a part of that group. But the truth of the matter is that we haven't had any firsthand experience ourselves. Something is missing. Something isn't there, and so this is what Jesus says to them. You're foolish. You're slow to believe. Don't you realize that the prophets have spoken in the Scriptures? Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter His glory? And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, He explained to them what was said in all the Scriptures concerning Himself. You know, there's a real corollary in the Bible between Moses in the Old Testament and Jesus in the New. You know, Moses received his call in the desert, and Jesus, kind of the same, received his call in the desert. Moses went up on the mountain and received a message from God. Jesus went on the mountain and gave his great Sermon on the Mount. Sermon on the Mount. Moses was rejected by the people, and there was like 40 years of wandering in the wilderness where there was a time where Moses was trying to explain God's message to him. Jesus was crucified and then spent 40 days trying to get across this message that something is real going on. So there's still hope. There's new hope. There's direction still for you. There's a promised land ahead. And you look at these correlations, and they just are over and over again. But you go in the Scriptures, and then you move from Moses to the prophets, and certainly you look at the prophet Isaiah. And Isaiah says this about Jesus: He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to Him, and nothing in His appearance that we should desire Him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised, and we held him in low esteem. You know, this picture of Jesus is very different than the kind of picture that we tend to have. No beauty, no majesty, undesirable, despised, rejected, held in low esteem, and familiar with suffering and pain. This is not the way you really gain a following, and this is not the direction that most of us take when we publicize Jesus. In fact, I think we have a movie coming out called The Son of God. It's sold 500,000 tickets have been pre-sold. And some of the people say part of the reason that there's so much interest in this movie is because of the person who plays Jesus. He's actually, according to some people, it says a big reason for the movie's popularity is its star Diogo. Do some of you know who this is? Diogo Morgado. I think he's Portuguese. Javier, he's not Portuguese. This is, anyways. It says, who's gotten a lot of attention on social media, especially for his appearance. In short, fans of the movie approve his appearance. They think he's... Now,
I'm sorry, we had a conversation.
A conversation about this picture? Spanish. Okay, I'm sorry. You two... Vern, where are you when I need you? Again, this is... This is, but the idea that Jesus is one who's been rejected, despised, the one who is not the superstar. So many of us have this orientation that, gosh, I want to follow Christ because He's going to make my life exactly the way I want it to be. I'm going to be the homecoming queen. I'm going to be the star football player. It doesn't seem to be the picture that Isaiah is talking about. It's not the one that's the model. And they couldn't recognize Jesus because they had a different picture of Him. And as they approached the village, it says, to which they were going, Jesus continued on as if He were going farther. But they urged Him strongly, stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over. So He went in to stay with them. And while he was in there with them, it became apparent that Jesus was really with them. He was there. It was Jesus. You know, I think there may be something about that idea of moving toward the direction that we understand that God has revealed to us, of staying in that direction where God has revealed Himself. Of continuing to mine that, pursuing that, of trying to discover more about what we understand as we focus on the things that God has revealed to us. He's given us a bit of light, and so we keep on moving toward that light that somehow reveals more light. In other words, there may be just something small, some small little understanding, glimmer, that God has given to you, and He's saying, I want you to keep on focusing on this area, and as you do, I'm going to give you more light. And I think this idea that they urged Jesus to stay with Him was that He's giving us some light. Maybe there's more. Maybe there's more understanding. And later it says, when He was at table with them, He took bread, and He gave thanks, and He broke it, and began to give it to them, and their eyes were opened, and they recognized Him, and He disappeared from their sight, and they asked each other, were not our hearts burning within us as He talked with us on the road and opened the Scriptures to us? You know, there's just something about eating with people that is really a powerful force. in our relationships. Companion, the word means with bread. Com means with. Panera's pan means bread. When you have a companion, the idea that you eat with them, that you have a connection with them. One of the saddest sections of the scriptures in my mind is Psalm 55 that says, if an enemy were insulting me, I could endure it. If a foe were rising against me, I could hide. But it is you, a man like myself, my companion, my close friend, with whom I once enjoyed sweet fellowship at the house of God as we walked among the worshipers. I was with you. I ate with you. I shared with you. I was a friend with you. And where you're not there for me, this is painful. And when you've betrayed me, it's even more so. But the reverse is also the case. I think sometimes what we need to do is just be able to say, as Joanne, as you said, come and eat with me. I have a new sense of appreciation for who you are because you've eaten a meal with me. There's a sense of intimacy that takes place when we eat together. One of the worst things I think is to eat together in solitude. It's just, I don't know if you've been to a gathering where you've been forced to sit at a table and you didn't necessarily want to, but you're forced to sit at a table with somebody else who was a stranger and eat with them. I can't help it but kind of talk with that person, even if they don't seem like they want to. My son tells this story about this guy that came to a table like this and had a bag of Famous Amos cookies and set them down, and he picked up his book or newspaper and started reading, and he reached in and picked up a cookie, and this other guy, stranger, sat down next to him, and the guy did the same. And they didn't speak, and then he reached in and got another cookie, and the other guy reached in and got another cookie, and the bag's gone, and they're not speaking. The guy gets up and goes on his way, and this guy's thinking, he's sitting there, what in the world was going on? Why was he eating my cookies? Until he looked around and saw that he had his own bag of Famous Amos cookies that he had left underneath the table, and so what had happened was they were sharing the other guy's cookies, and so here's this silent non-communication, and this thing is happening, but something isn't happening, and there's assumptions that are going on, and what's this guy thinking? Why they're doing what they're all these stories that are spinning around inside our heads, but we tend to do this with people. Joanne's a little bit of what has been going on is what we tend to do this, don't we? We sit in isolation. How many of you have sent a text or an email and what you needed to do was either pick up the phone or say, let's get together over a cup of coffee? But out goes these series of email. What in the world does this person mean by this? This is real. Well, I'm going to text them back. You really have misunderstood this. And have you ever been a part of that email stream? Well, that's beep, 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 beep. Pick up the phone. Get together with that person. Have a relationship with them. Connect with them. Look them in the eye. How many of you desperately need a face-to-face with somebody right now? That God is speaking to you. There's somebody that just says, I need this. I need to connect more deeply. I need to go down more deeply. I wonder whether Jesus chose in his resurrected form to be unrecognizable unless you ate with him, unless you connected to him, unless you could see him in a different way than just something cursory. I wonder, so many of the stories about Jesus and resurrection are stories about him eating with people. But I wonder what or Jesus talking about, give me food, I can eat. I wonder about the need that he had in his own soul to sit down and eat. And this is, I'll go a step further. My brother went to his house, and he's remodeled his house and put a lot of money into remodeling the house. One of the things that they took out of their house was the dining room table. Dining room table's removed. There's no dining room table. There's no kitchen table. There's no table. What is there is the living room and the TV set. All meals are focused around the TV set. All meals have degenerated into somehow getting this outside influence, something to pull you away from any kind of connecting, interconnecting, deep connecting. But I just am wondering whether Jesus is saying I need to have a relationship with you that's deeper. I want this because guess what? You tend to be oblivious unless you go down a little bit deeper. It says they got up and returned at once to Jerusalem. There they found the 11 and those with them assembled together and saying, "It is true, the Lord has risen and has appeared to Simon." And the two told what happened on the way and how Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread. I think one of the things that happens to us is we remain. Things remain in theory until we talk about them. There is something important about talking about what we have learned, about things that have happened. And the other day, Ann was saying to me, "I'm sorry for telling you all this information, but it's a way for me to process it. I'm her processor. But how many of you have noticed yourself doing that? That your spouse or somebody becomes, she didn't want any input. She didn't want me to say anything. She didn't want me to correct her, which I'm quite willing to do. I'm willing to say, hey, there's this or that you could do, but that's not what she was looking for. She was just looking to have this information processed. And I think this is what was going on in large respect as far as these two from Emmaus. They're going, and somehow as they're sharing, it goes down deeper inside of them as well. I really am praying that more of us are engaged in sharing in Bible studies and sharing in gatherings like this, that we're up front somehow sharing what's going on inside of us, because when we get that stuff out of our system and we say what's going on inside of us, somehow that goes down deeper inside of us as well. It confirms, it reaffirms, it makes sense to us. I think there's this idea of Jesus trying to pull out from those of us that have made some kind of affirmation inside of our soul, something that comes from our mouths as well. I really do understand. I really do believe this. I really am moving in this direction. Somehow this is part of that process. It begins to change us. But I want to say, I think the word oblivious is a word that Jesus wants to transform into awe and amazement. He wants to move us from being people who are oblivious to people who are in wonder and in awe of what He's doing. He wants to move us beyond not seeing beginning to see a glimmer and then moving more deeply into that light. He wants us to see in that light something that we're able to say, gosh, this is truly wonderful. There's something beautiful that's happening here. I know that when Ann and I first met, it was with an email. You know, there's this little email connection. I see a picture, and I email, and an email returns, and this little bit of communication. By the way, the communication was when I saw Ann's posting on an email. I said, you know, I'd like to meet her, and the response, which was, I'm not really interested. But that was that. But you know, I saw a glimmer of hope. She responded. She responded. Somebody actually responded to me, and this is. She was in Virginia, and she says, if you move out to Virginia, I'd be glad to, you know, get to know you, but best luck on your search. And I said, well, you know, 700 miles, we can make something happen if God is in it. I was a glimmer. Some of us are 700 miles right now from the Lord. And there's been an email. And a lot of us passing right on by. You know, it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy for me to say, thank you. I hear what you're saying, and just keep on moving. But I saw this little glimmer that I wanted to pursue. You know, God may be giving you a little glimmer of light right now. He's asking you to pursue. Don't be oblivious. Don't be oblivious to the glimmer of light that God gives you. Lord God, I thank you for this time that we can spend with one another, who we all see. I know we have a hard time recognizing you. My goodness, it's difficult to understand people in flesh and blood. It's so hard. This thing of the Spirit is so hard. It's so hard when we have frustrations and pains and issues that seem to be so in our face. It's hard then to move more deeply into an understanding of who you are and what you're saying, what you're doing. But Lord, help us to take the step that you're inviting us to take. Help us to move more deeply towards you. Help us to be open, aware. Help us to be amazed and in awe. This is our desire. This is our prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.